here, I would say, with the Buck Showalter sweepstakes last weekend, and of course the Terps getting their clocks cleaned up at Penn State on Saturday, and then the Ravens, for the second time in 4 years, losing to the Washington Redskins and then firing their offensive coordinator before 10 a.m. the next morning. Mark Trestman's out. Marty Morningwing is in. This guy has his own problems. He covers the New York Football Giants up in the great state of New Jersey, where I met Bruce Springsteen in Freehold, New Jersey 2 weeks ago. He is Tom Canavan, long time, 3 decades, been covering New Jersey sports scene for the Associated Press. You can follow his journey on Twitter at APTCan, and we will see if the Ravens can go into MetLife Stadium in the Meadowlands and do the Giants dirty. Tom, I mean, we're feeling bad about ourselves down here at 3-2 and firing coordinators. Boy, I watched the Giants amidst Sunday Night Football, and they look like a bad football team, Tom.
They are a bad football team at this point. They've lost 3 in a row. The offense, which is supposed to be Ben McAdoo's big, project, and he's made them work for 2 years, suddenly isn't working. They spent a ton of money on the defense, and they can't get pressure on the quarterback. They've had a couple of injuries, but, the honeymoon's over. The 2-0 start is history. They're 2-3. They're last in their division.
Yeah, to me, it felt like the Packers just pushed them around, especially I know the Packers' offensive line is going to push a lot of teams around, but it just felt like the Giants' defense isn't stout enough at this point, especially against that kind of multiple offense and the things Aaron Rodgers was doing to them. Now, they didn't, they did force some field goals, but I would say, by and large, the Packers had their way.
Oh, absolutely. And and if you just watch some of the videotapes of the plays, Olivier Vernon, JPP, there was no inside rush. Rodgers had like 5 seconds of play to throw. And and the most embarrassing thing to me is on the opening series, the Packers get down near the goal line, 3rd and 10, and he scrambles for 10 yards? Give me a break. There's no room to scramble for 10 yards, and yet he walked 10 yards.
What did you think coming into the season? You talk about the offense, you talk about McAdoo taking over, and and I know there was a lot of contentiousness around Coughlin's exit, right? Like it wasn't a real comfortable exit because he still had many supporters in that building, right?
Oh, absolutely. I think there was a couple of things that made it necessary. You missed the playoffs 4 years in a row, and no coach, even one who's led you to 2 Super Bowls, is going to survive that. The fans, it's like everything. What have you done for me lately? And lately was 2 6-10 seasons and some bad play, especially on the defense. So, Tom, he resigned, he left, he was fired. Take your pick. It was all of the above. But
do you see it as a positive move as the spring and the summer came? Look, we had Billick here forever. I love Brian. He's my business partner. He left. It did create massive change inside the organization. I don't know when you sort of take a half a step back. It felt like it was a change, but not a massive change, and certainly not a philosophical change. What did change here in this offseason with the move from Coughlin to McAdoo?
The one really noticeable change was they updated their training program off the season. They had an older guy named Jerry Palmieri who ran the weight room and things like that, and they brought in a guy, Aaron Wellman, who's just a modern guy. So they put in a new weight room, and the injuries for the most part have been down. That was the biggest change. They spent a lot of money on the defense, and they thought, well, hey, Olivier Vernon's going to give us like a sack a game. And, JPP coming after a year off is going to have a full year with his hand, and he'll be better. And we'll stop the run, which they have done a little bit better. But, they've generated no pass rush. And so the belief was the offense would get better. And the defense would improve. And they lost so many games, 6 games in the last quarter or in overtime, they figured that was enough to get them over the hump.
Well, I'm sorry. In the case of the pass rush, I mean, Manning got chased around a lot on Sunday night, and that would be the biggest concern for me is keeping him upright and what they're trying to do with the football. Because Bobby Rainey, we're familiar with him here, right? I mean, he was a preseason sensation here for a couple of years back. I think it was 12, 13, and then made his way to, I believe, Jacksonville for a period of time, and now makes his way to the Giants. I find it kind of fascinating that he's sort of kind of the feature back, right?
Well, basically, he's right now. They're playing without their top two backs. Rashad Jennings has missed the last 3 weeks with a thumb injury. Shane Vereen, who was the number 2 back, tore a triceps. He's out for the year. So I mean, it's been Orleans Dockerer who's the starter, and at the beginning of training camp, I didn't even know he was going to make the team. Rainey was another guy who was on the bubble, and the guy everybody thought would step up early was the rookie Paul Perkins, who was a draft pick out of UCLA. But he didn't get till, because of the West Coast school rules, he missed a lot of the mandatory training camps and the off-season workouts. So he's catching up. So, I mean, they're playing without a top running back.
Well, Justin Forsett, we threw him out onto the street last week looking for a gig as well. Tell me about Odell Beckham. I mean, you're around the team a lot. Tom Canavan joining us here from the AP up in New Jersey. You can follow his journey out on Twitter at APTCan. The Beckham thing from the outside, he's the kind of guy I root against as a guy, on the other side of the fence. I don't like the emotional thing and all the nonsense that's going on with him. But that being said, he needs to be more effective on the field, right? I mean, he was not as big a factor in the game on Sunday night. Quite frankly, hasn't been as big a factor this year as he needs to be in this offense, right?
Yeah, a couple of things, though. The offensive line has been horrible. I mean, you talked about Eli staying up. He's really not. He's been ducking a lot. I mean, the Vikings didn't get a sack on him, but every time they got close, he just grounded the ball. So, I mean, if you give him time, the receivers will get open. He just hasn't had the time, and the Ravens should know that. Flacco was running for his life yesterday.
Yeah, well, we've seen a little bit of that as well. We fired our offensive coordinator Monday morning. Things were not going well around here,
Right, and so, I mean, if the quarterback can stay up like Rodgers, I mean, Beckham's going to be better. And, I mean, to be perfectly honest, as emotional as he is, and as I'm an older guy, so I, dislike that kind of stuff, I mean, you talk to him off the field, it's not like he's some kid who's just, growing up poorly. He's got good values. It's just that when he gets on the field, he can't control himself. He did a better job on Sunday night. But, I mean, he can be real good, and we've seen that in his first 2 years. He's got to get up to that level now.
Hey, Tom, we don't just see the Giants this week. We see the Jets next week. This is kind of an interesting little fold in the schedule, right? I remember last year we played back-to-backs on the West Coast twice. This back-to-back to New York's kind of interesting as the schedule goes. And we have a bye on the backside of that, and then 2 games with the Steelers and the Browns within 4 days of each other after the bye. Some thoughts about the Jets as well and where they are. Clearly the Steelers are a pretty good football team this year. Not that Philadelphia game 2 weeks ago withstanding. The Steelers we're going to have to deal with later in the year. But we see the Jets next week. Give me some thoughts about the Ravens coming up with a new offense coordinator, Marty Morningweg, and doing the daily double and beating both of these teams in back-to-back weeks, which is what the Ravens fans feel like we need to do before the bye.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, everybody wants to go into the bye feeling good about themselves, and playing the 2 New York teams, you have a shot. The problem is that both New York teams have hurt themselves more than anything. Penalties, turnovers, those are the things that have killed these 2 teams. If these teams suddenly can correct the problems, the Ravens are going to have a tough time.
Well, the Jets feel like they're in a much more dire strait than the Giants at this point. It feels like if we beat the Giants, we would be feeling really good about beating the Jets. I think the Jets are on a pace here to win 3 or 4 games. I don't see them winning a lot of games.
Well, again, I mean, at the pace they're on now, that's correct. You correct the problems, and I mean, this league there's so much parity. You correct the problems. I mean, how many weeks ago did we all write off Buffalo and say Rex Ryan is out the door, and suddenly he's 3-2?
You miss him around there, don't you? Be honest.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, who else can we talk about? Football and sucking toes.
Tom Canavan joining us here. He is an APT Can out on Twitter. Tom, great having you on, man. We'll see you up there in the swamps of Jersey this weekend and next weekend. I'm going to be an honorary Garden Stater for the next 2 weeks.
Yes, to have a good time.
I'll be like Joe Flacco. I'll be from Jersey. Yeah, think about that. Flacco going back and playing at the Meadowlands a couple of times here. So in the great state of New Jersey, as they say, home of John Bon Jovi and Chris Christie as well. So our bus trip has some seats left on Sunday. If you want to go see the Giants, feel free to throw us a note, nasty at WNST.net. You can go to the website at WNST.net under the Trips tab and join us somewhere in the swamps of Jersey. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook Live as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. Don't forget, we're always at Buffalo Wild Wings on Monday nights for our Best Seat in the House competition. It's limo ride, $100 gift card. It's one of the awesome things we do throughout the football season. We get to hang out with some friends as well. We have our wing eating competition at halftime. And a big thanks for CJ Mosley joining us on Tuesday night at Buffalo Wild Wings in Owings Mills for the Bone Marrow Registry and for There Goes My Hero. Anything you missed around here you can find in the Bahia Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. We come in crystal clear. And, of course, our morning newspaper ships to your email inbox at 7 a.m. each and every morning. That's free and powered up by Planet Fitness at planetfitness.com. Last but never least, if you're on our WNST breaking news service, you know at 9:33, you know how I found out? My wife came running into the office with the phone up saying, they just fired Trestman. They just fired Trestman. I said, how do you know? She said, WNST Tech Service. I'm like, oh. It's brought to you by Coons Ford Security Boulevard. Dennis will be here on Thursday driving you home from 3 until 5 and getting you ready for the weekend and for Marty Morningwig's offense Sunday in the Meadowlands. I'm Nestor. This is WNST.net, AM 1570 and WNST Taos in Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.